don't make us who we are. So I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is...
Hi, everybody. We're back again. Hi, Maren. How are you?
Good. How are you, Michelle?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so happy to be back here again. And I think we're going to talk about something really cool again. And yes, we're going to revisit the Ghost Radar, but I haven't had a chance to hear yet your experiences. And Maren, I know that you've had some experiences with the Ghost Radar. And I have to say, I was just doing a healing. And as I was doing the healing, the radar is saying light, enter, like, yeah, like saying all these words. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like it was really working hard today. So let's get right into it because I know
Okay.
you've got some good stuff to
So yeah, I have a verdict on the Ghost Radar. I think it is definitely a divination tool. Is that how you say it? Divination?
divination.
Tool?
Yep.
So kind of crazy. I text you a story that happened, but I have an even better one, so I'm gonna share that one.
Okay.
So I got off the recording with you last week and I told my husband about the app. And so he downloaded it right away, but I was busy all day, so I couldn't like do anything with the app.
Yeah.
And the next morning I'm like, okay, I'm gonna download the app. So I download the app and I like turn it on, we're eating breakfast. My husband was like, I don't think it works. Like I told my mom to put mom, like have the word mom show up if it's her. And I haven't gotten anything. And I was like, and I like literally I just heard her say, like, Josh, give me a second. I don't know how to work this thing, like, and I told him that I just heard that. And he was like, oh my God, that's not my mom. And then I thought, gosh, like Erik really needs to help her with this. Like he's so much better with technology, like bring in the millennial, like help her out. And so it's so funny because I had it open and like we were like waiting to hear something and there was like random words that didn't mean anything. It was like a very faint dot. And then as soon as I said Erik needs to, or thought, I didn't even say it out loud, I thought Erik needs to help her, another dot showed up on the radar. And all of a sudden there were two dots. And I was like, well, that was strange. And then I kid you not, the next word was explanation. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then the next word after that was easier. And it was like Erik said, like, I'm giving her an explanation. And then Margaret said, this is getting easier or something.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable. And then the next word was care. And so it was like, I felt like she was like, I care about you. Like I'm doing this, like, just give me a second. So, and then I kind of went to random words again. But I feel like that's kind of like the app. It's like they have to control the energy. So it's like,
yes,
some are random and then you get like a grouping of really like accurate words and then they kind of go random again because it, in my mind, like it's just kind of hard for them to, be very controlling.
Yeah.
I think that kind of goes with like my readings too, because like I'll get like really accurate information. And then like one time I got jumping Jetsons and I was like, does that mean anything to you? And they were like, no. And so then I, asked people, I was like, what does that mean? And they showed me like bull riding. And I was like, oh, I kind of like very vaguely remember going to like a rodeo and there was a bull named Jumping Jetsons, but like I would never remember that unless you had like, you know what I mean? Like it just, like, I don't know how it works like that, but anyway, so then I knew we were going to do a follow-up. So then I get on it this morning and I was like, okay, before I say whether or not I really think that this is legit, I'm going to get on this morning. And so it's like sitting outside and of course there's like dot, 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 dot. And the first word is home. And I was like, home. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the second word was clouds. And I'm outside. So I was like, oh, I'm going to look up in the clouds and maybe there'll be like one that's like shaped like something, or there's going to be like a message in the clouds. So I look up in the clouds. I kid you not. There's not a cloud in the sky. It is the bluest, clearest day ever. And I was like, what in the world? Like there's no clouds. And then the next word was jet. And so I look back up at the sky, and sure enough, there's a plane like right over me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's really
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
So
Like
it
you can't make that up. Like
right?
seriously. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they use a database. Like with us, we're a database, right? So when you're having your sessions and myself as well, they're using our memories, like our associations. It's almost like a bit of, like you said before, like a game of charades, right? Like using our memories to be able to show us something that relates to something else that'll make sense to them. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of work with them to pull that out. And sometimes things are more obvious, but with the ghost radar, that's exactly the experience that I have. There's like a concentrated amount of energy. The dots tend to line up, and then all of a sudden the words all make sense. And then there can be some nonsensical stuff. And actually, I've got a lot of emails this week, even sessions with people that have watched the video and said, I got my radar on. I got my radar on. I downloaded it. I'm doing it too. And some people are getting like very relevant words. Some people are getting not so relevant words. But again, it's like you got to give it a chance. Got to give it a chance. And that's a perfect kind of explanation for Erik showing Josh's mom how to work it. Like these are things here, guys, like there's no way, because some people be like, oh well, it's an app, it's our phones, it's listening to us, just like with the app.
But you don't give it access. That's the
Yes.
thing is you normally like you'll say, I give permission to
Right.
have it on my microphone. You don't give it permission for your microphone.
No.
So
No access, and most of the stuff that's going on is going on in the head.
yes, that's okay. So then there was like one morning I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it again. And so I said, who's near me, which is what I do when I meditate to like bring spirits forward and whatnot. And it was the first time where I said who. So I said, who's near me, who's near me, who's near me. And then literally Henry was the first word on the app. And I was like, like it was literally like, who's near me? Henry. I was like, oh my gosh. So that kind of freaked me out because I was like, oh my God, I actually asked a question and it gave me like a very relevant answer. And I did it all in my head.
Yeah, that's really weird because I got Henry this week too.
Oh,
I got Henry, so that's really strange. And I was like, because this the name Henry popped up, and I was just like, huh, I don't know who Henry is, but hi Henry. Like,
that's exactly. I was just like, okay, there's a Henry near me. Like, yeah.
Interesting. So okay, so now you also brought up Archangel Metatron too. So
Okay,
what's going on
so
there?
this is, I mean, this is not going to be a crazy story for you because like this happens to you all the time, but this is a very crazy story for me because
Always
I have
a
not
crazy story.
communicated with him.
I never get sick of this stuff though.
Okay. Okay. This is just like one of those where you just go, wow, that was real. Like that is unbelievable how it all shuffles out.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I wrote notes because it's a long story, so I don't want to like get sidetracked here. So, okay. So Wednesday night I'm going to bed,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing spirits like the whole shebang like I normally do. Then all of a sudden I hear from what sounds like a guide. I hear your thoughts have immediate consequences on your actions. And it was so clear and it was so concrete and it was so direct. I was like, huh, maybe my spirit guides want me to make a post about our thoughts. Like maybe that's like a really important message that I need to get across. So, so Thursday after work, I was like, okay, I'm going to make a post that talks about, I'm going to put that in a post, like a picture post, make it pretty and whatnot. And, but I also wanted to post about the story I told you last weekend off the air about my spirit guides and the signs and whatnot. And so I made both posts, but I only posted that one because that was more time sensitive because it was about my new job. So I was like, okay, post that. And then I'll wait a few days and I'll post the other one. So I haven't posted it yet. So I'll post it. I'll post it after this. But anyway, so, like working really hard, making it look real pretty and blah, blah, blah. And then I get done and I go, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to meditate and try to connect to Metatron. That was like the randomest thought ever. And I was like, I am going to do this. And like, I have had like a desire to try to connect to people or energy that's not just like a spirit. Like I wanted to start connecting to like angels and other beings and things. So it has been a desire, but like really on the back burner. And so for it to be so like, this is what I'm doing tonight, was, you know, like, and I did it. And so I don't know, it was just very odd. So then I lay in bed at night and I'm like, I want to connect to Metatron. So I start to bring, you know, I kept asking for him to come close to me and just like, I have no idea what I'm going to get or if I'm going to get anything. Like I just start asking for him to come near me and I start to feel like vibration in my left leg, which I'm like, okay, that could be him. And then I hear this word and it like really, I saw a man kind of look like Jesus. I'm not gonna lie, like he kind of looked like Jesus. I saw like this kind of like just like no head, just like this with his arm extended. I could tell he was wearing like white robe. And then I saw like this like flash of a purple orb, and then I heard settle like that, and it was like really fast, and I knew it wasn't the word settle, but it was like the closest word that I could like, that I knew of, what I was hearing, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like, I knew I had just heard him and it was so fast, but I wasn't quite sure what it was.
Right.
And then, so I was like, okay, I can hear him. So I asked him, what's my spiritual gift? And he said that I can transmute energy. And then he said transmutation. And so I was like, okay. And at the time I was thinking like, does he mean like crossing spirits and like transitioning energy that way? Or like, I didn't really know what transmutation of energy meant. But I just kind of went with it. I was just kind of experiencing all the experiences. And then I said, you know, can you validate yourself? And he said, Enoch. And I know that he's associated, but I know he's associated to the name Enoch. Okay. So I was like, I know you're associated to that name because you had mentioned Metatron before and I looked him up and I remember seeing the word Enoch, and there's this dog that I know that is named Enoch. And I always thought it was like the strangest name. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. And that was really the only thing about him that like stuck with me. And so I was like, I know that though, but he kept saying it, Enoch, Enoch, Enoch. And I was like, okay. And then I saw a triangle with like a circle in the middle of it. But when we had talked about him before, you had mentioned the Mark Kuba, which was not that shape. So I was like, I don't know if that's him. And then by this point, I'm starting to feel tingling in my hands. I feel like I have this crown of energy around the top of my head. And then like I had a sore throat and like it went away and I felt really light. And I was like, okay, I feel like he's like working on me. I'm just gonna lay really still and let my chakras like do their thing. And I just like laid really still and then I fell asleep. And so then yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm going to Google about Metatron because like I feel like I had too much going on to, you know, I'm like, let me see like what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Okay. So I look up Wikipedia. Metatron is the first thing I go to. And his name is associated with it's called, I'm gonna say this wrong, Shaddai.
Okay.
Shaddai. And so I was like, oh my God, that sounds exactly, if you go, so then I like dictionary Shaddai, because I'm like, what is that? And you can hear it play. And it sounds exactly like settle, like Shaddai, settle. And I was like, oh my God, I think that was the name I heard. I had just never heard that name before. So like I associated it with the closest word that I know of, you know what I mean? And it's like he's so associated with that name. Apparently, like they're numerically equivalent or something like that. I don't know. It's very beyond me, but it's in Wikipedia, so it has to be true. And Britannica, it has to be true. And there's a video game called El Shaddai Metatron. So it's like it's related.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
Anyway, so I was like, okay. And then you Google Metatron and it like comes up like the top 5 like things people Google search, and like Metatron's cube pops up. And so I like click on that. And I'm like, oh my, I just in case you're not familiar with Metatron's cube here, I'm like, oh my gosh, all I
Yes.
see is the triangle with the circle.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, okay.
Okay. Yes.
And then you like, you Google him and like the images are at the top, and I'm like, huh, he does kind of look like Jesus. He does wear robes. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then I Googled Metatron spirituality, and to see like, and so they say like, oh, top 5 things that happen, if common things that happen when you contact Metatron. And it's like flashes of light, tingling crown chakra.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I had. And then they said that he's the recorder angel, and he's in charge of like recording what goes into the Akashic records. And so he really works with you to change your thoughts to positive thoughts, because he knows, and this was like verbatim what I heard. It says he works with you because he knows that positive thoughts translate to positive actions and negative thoughts translate to negative actions. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I just wrote in that post when I decided to channel him. So I was like, who's channeling him? Like, did I want to channel him or did he want me to channel him? You know what I mean? Like, how crazy
He came to
is
you.
that?
He came to you, and
Yes.
if okay, you might have to help me recollect here, but we brought Metatron up. Was that in a recording, or did that happen in a session between you and I? Didn't Metatron come up?
No, I feel like it was a recording when I said sometimes I see things that I don't know what they mean, and I described the shape to you, and you said it's
Okay.
the Markuba or whatever
Okay.
Metatron shape, and I was like, and you said he's around me, and I was like, oh, okay, and then that's when I Googled and I found out
Okay.
the Enoch thing.
Okay.
And then hold on, one more thing. So then I Google transmutation, or I Google spiritual transmutation of energy or something like that. And like, oh, first of all, I Googled transmutation, and it's like transmutation circle. And I was like, what's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the exact same.
Yes.
And then I Google spiritual like transmutation of energy, and it's all about the power of our thoughts and how we can manifest through the power of our thoughts.
Yes.
So there's like a very consistent theme of what I picked up that I had no idea about any of it. It was like all different language to like explain the same thing.
Yes.
And imagery, and it's just like absolutely crazy. So I'm blown away. So I absolutely believe that I was able to connect with Metatron.
Yes.
Or connect with me.
Yes.
And he finally got through to me.
Yes.
And I'm just like blown away. I'm blown away. So
it's amazing. That is amazing.
yes,
and
that's
I'll
what
tell
I'm
you,
going to talk to you about. Like
he is Metatron is one of the first archangels, with the exception of Archangel Michael. I think I connected with him first, but Metatron was one of the first archangels I started to work with. And when I started to work with him was the same thing, was transmutation of energy, because he helped me understand the power of positive thinking and how we can take our circumstances and how we can change it with the power of our mind, powered by our emotion, to then affect the reality that we create. And Metatron has always shown up for me as purple energy. That's how I see him always.
wow.
Okay. As he's purple. He was the very first time that I saw him he was like fluorescent purple. It was
Wow.
completely fluorescent purple in my third eye. Um, he's here right now. So as you started, so I called on him and said, okay, are you here? Because I wasn't feeling him yet. And he comes right through my heart chakra. And it's interesting because how I experience the archangels, as well as some people's higher selves, is like a helmet on my head that's tingly, like a
Yes.
bit of a tightening and a tingle.
Yeah.
Um, so Metatron, and why I was asking you, because the Merkaba, and I mean, we could get into a whole discussion about that, because it's how we travel with our consciousness and how we change, and it's transmutation. It's so many different things. But Metatron is part of your spiritual team, and so and he works with so many of us, but I feel, and what he's saying right now was, it was his desire, because of your desire. It was, he's calling it, we could call it a contracted desire between the two of us to communicate, and it was about time to introduce myself. So he's calling it a planting of his awareness in yours, is what he's saying. And he's very pleased that you, actually saying he's very pleased that you take the time to discern, and to like, because I just asked him, I'm like, how did that feel? Did you were trying to express, this is who I am, this is who I am? And he's just saying that that's teachable, and that's something that he wants to take a moment to say, is that it's important to discern, to understand, to question, to get to know the energy that you're bringing forward, that's part of the process. And so he's just saying that that was important for you to do. He's also saying that your work as a medium, and he says not limited to a medium. He says there's so much more. And he's saying transmutation of energy takes on many different forms. And so you are learning ways that you understand consciously, but there's ways that you transmute energy that are unconscious as well, by your presence, also happening on different layers of your spiritual body beyond the physical world as well. He's interesting because he has his presence. Um, he comes forward for me as very intelligent, and he doesn't really mess around. Like, he's quite clear, he's quite.
So you know what he sounded like to me is like on the Wizard of Oz. I'm the great and powerful Oz. Like that's the way he sounded to me.
Yeah, and you know what? And I got chills because I didn't know okay. And I've told this before, so I'm going to tell it again for those that have already heard this. Sorry, but I didn't connect who this was that said it. When I was first in the, like, I would say in the first year of my awakening, right? I was in a hotel with a friend, and we brought our kids there and everything, and this hotel room had like one of those big jacuzzi tubs and everything. So I went off in the jacuzzi tub, and I had my headphones in, and I was meditating. Well, I took my headphones off, and I'm just in the tub. It's dark, like I've got candles going. It's really nice. And I started like feeling energy, seeing energy. And I opened my eyes, and I'm like staring at the wall in front of me. And I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, because I started to see something form on the wall. And I was kind of looking at it. I'm like, oh my God, it formed into a great big blinking eye. Okay, so it was like that big, and it was on a far wall, and it was clear as day. I was not on anything. I was like, that was a big blinking eye, and I heard audibly, out loud, "Are you ready for this?" Just like that. And so
Oh my
just
gosh.
when you just said that, he just said, "Are you ready for this?" And matched it to, so that's exactly who was speaking to me at that time, and I didn't really
Oh
connect
my
that.
gosh, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So, I mean, and I remember saying, "Ready for what?" What? Like, I don't know, I'm looking at a big blinking eye on the wall right now. But that's why I was questioning my sanity a little bit here and there at that point in time, but
Oh, that's wild.
yeah. But that's interesting. I think Metatron will pop in, by the feeling of him, he'll be popping in on a regular basis, and, I think you'll have a lot of communication with him. He's feels like he's ready to work with you, and
Okay.
likely come in a lot of your sessions too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt when I was researching about him, I felt like because there was like a specific spot on my calf where like
Mm,
it almost felt like if you had like a tall sock on and like the
yeah.
top of the sock kind of like
Yeah.
pinches in a little bit,
Mhm.
right? It was like all vibrating like right there. And then um when I was reading about them, it was still vibrating. And then whenever I'm with a guide, like they always
Mm.
get my hand, and my
Mhm.
hand was going crazy. And I was like, I think you're back.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
That's awesome. That's really good. That's an amazing story. That is really good.
yeah.
And so what would you, because there's a lot of people listening that would like to contact Metatron, and I feel like um so what would you recommend? What would you say to somebody today that is maybe unsure of who they're connecting with and kind of not, what would you recommend for them to start communicating with, say, Archangel Metatron or any of the angels or guides?
Well, so I'm very clairsentient. So my body feels first. So if to figure out what is your predominant clair,
Yeah.
or at least and you can do that, you just ask. And so it's funny because a couple of weeks, well, maybe it was like a month or two now ago, I was like, I want to know what it feels like when there's an angel in my presence. And so I said the same thing. I said, is it arc or arch?
I
Arch.
I I say arc, but I
Arc.
mean, yeah.
Okay. I like arc.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, Archangel Michael, at least they don't care because they still come.
They
So,
don't care. They don't care.
so I was like, Archangel Michael, can you please come and like touch my body so we know what that feels like when an angel is in my presence? And I felt just like I saw his face come very close to mine, and then in like a flash, just like that. And then just this flash of energy through my body. And so I was like, okay, it's like this energy thing is like angels. And so just ask,
Yeah.
what does it feel like when you're in my presence? And that's kind of like the way when I wanted to contact Metatron, I just really was like, okay, really all I was looking for was like,
Oh, let me freeze up for a little bit here. Oh, we're frozen. I don't know if
okay,
anybody. Oh, there we go. Like
are
we're
we back?
frozen. I don't know if anybody can see me. I'm just doing a little dance here. Okay, we're good.
um, anyway, so with Metatron, I was really just expecting like that same thing, like a body thing. But it was like once I heard him, I was like, wait a minute, I I think I can talk to you.
Yeah.
So yes, and then to call them in close, kind of did the whole Beetlejuice thing. You call their name. I was like, Metatron, Metatron, come close to me, Metatron, come close to me, Metatron, come close to me, Metatron. Um, and then then I started feeling changes.
Yeah.
So I guess my thing would be like low expectations, like
Yeah.
just see if there's a difference that you can feel.
Yes.
And then go from there.
Yes.
So
I love that. And I think that that is really the, like, just look for those little temperature changes. Those
yeah,
little temperature changes in the body, and
yeah,
and go for that, because everything builds.
yes,
Everything builds. So don't worry about it as being like, oh my God, like I okay, Maren heard his voice, and if I don't
yeah,
hear his voice, that means he's not there. No, no, no. It builds. It
yes,
builds. So allow it
yes,
to be whatever it is in this moment.
yes. because, like with Archangel Michael, it was just the zing through my body and his face. There was no words. And then with him, I was like actually kind of surprised I got a word. That's why I didn't catch that first word. And like with my readings, that's the way it goes too. It's like, or even I'll back up to Metatron. It's like at first it was just the leg, but then I was seeing the flashes of light and the ring around that. So it takes a minute to like really connect. Like I always say that it's like in my readings, I feel like it's like grabbing a feather is like the way it's like at first it's like this glint. And then I'm like, okay, I think you're the person. And it's like very light. But then the more I talk to that person and let it happen, the more it really gets going.
Yes. Yes. Awesome.
I don't know.
Well, that's a fantastic, I would say a fantastic way to end things off with contacting Metatron. And I'm curious
Yeah.
to know if you're going to have some more experiences over the week with him.
I know.
I think you're going to.
I know. So I mean, and we could do this another time or we can do this, but I want to talk more about transmutation of energy and transmuting energy.
Okay.
And I'm very confused I got very confused when like like alchemy, it was like the alchemy transmutation circle. And I was like, I don't, that, and then there was like images of people who have tattoos of this. And I'm like, okay, this is a thing. And I know nothing about this. Like,
Okay.
so
So
I do, but we can do that.
So let's do, because that'll be we're getting close to our time here, because I know you've got some things to do today, and I do too.
Okay.
But I was just thinking that that would be something that we should do, maybe our next session. I'm sure that would be a great thing to do, because it is a bit detailed, for
Okay.
us to kind of go through it and understand it.
Yeah.
And maybe play with it a little bit,
Okay.
practice with it a little bit. And I'm pretty sure that I have up here somewhere, I have a Merkaba crystal. I'm sure I do. I'll have to find it up here somewhere.
Okay.
I just got delivered some amazing crystals, and Sharon McCluskey, if you're watching, oh my God, girl, you sent me some awesome from way across the pond, some beautiful crystals. So thank you very much, Sharon.
Oh, awesome.
So maybe there's one in there. I don't know. But I'll get that out, and then we'll work a little bit with that.
Speaking of crystals,
Yeah.
kind of funny. I just bought an angelite bracelet, which I heard helps you connect with angels. And I bought it like this week. So it was like meant to be.
That is meant to be. And the thing is too, is like because our crystals hold energy, energy of the Akash. We have past life energy connected with our crystals. And again, belief and intention, all of those things. You can read crystals. That's another thing we should do too, is we should show about, like, I have a crystal ball. Okay. Crystal ball. And you can read right into this and get like spiritual information from the crystal ball. And like, it's a real thing. You really can read a crystal ball.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So all of that. I love crystals and all of that stuff too. There was something else that I feel like I meant to share today, and I just can't think of it. So it must not be important for today.
Well, thank you for letting me share my story, because that was really incredible. It really blew me away.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Like everything was spot on. And
I will tell you, every single interaction with spirit is amazing. And I don't think there's a moment that I would ever consider it. Like people say, oh, you must get really used to it. Well, yes, in a way, right? In a way, because you kind of expect it. But is any interaction really anything that you really get used to? Like, I get excited about all of it. I love all of it. So when I have something that is extraordinary, especially something new, then I mean, that is just the most exciting thing in the world. So it's really awesome to experience your communications as they're new, And your communications are going to be very different for you than they are for me, even though there's like some things that maybe like, oh yeah, I get a tingling or I get that. But because we all perceive slightly differently, it's so fascinating to hear how exactly does Metatron come through to you, and how do you experience it. I think that's really important too for all of us to really show that each experience that we have is really individual, and it's our
Yeah.
own connection with spirit,
Yeah.
with the angels. Wonderful. Well, Maren, another episode on the charts.
I can't believe it. I literally was thinking this morning, this is like the best part of my week. And I just feel so blessed that I get to talk to you every week. It
Me
is
too.
really amazing.
This
So
is
thank you
awesome.
so much.
Well, thank
This is
you.
awesome.
I love this. I look forward to this, and I'm so glad that we're doing this. And I'm so glad that you guys are all here watching,
I
because that is
know.
awesome too, and we love to interact. And we're making up a list. I keep writing down the lists of questions, so we will dedicate one to a bunch of questions, because I know there's a lot of them on there. But I guess that's it. Maren, you hold on for a minute as always, so I can talk to you for just a second. But signing off, guys. Thanks for joining us for another Mentorship Monday with Michelle and Maren.
Thanks.
Da-da-da-da-da. See you guys.